Okay, this is a little So Many Sequels news update. We still haven't named these.
Yeah, the midweek news show. I don't know. We'll come up with
Midweek.
something that
Ooh,
sounds fun.
yeah. Maybe
So I
we
feel
do
like our
need to
last
do
one was on
that.
a Wednesday or a Tuesday.
Probably something like that. Big movie news today. You
That's
kind of
right.
see it's sequel adjacent, I'll call it.
Yeah.
If you follow the same circles that we do, you've probably seen that Warner Brothers and HBO Max announced today that sometime in 2021 they will release Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League.
That's right. The infamous Snyder cut is
The
finally
Yeah,
going to be seen by the masses
hashtag
after
release the Snyder cut.
3-ish years of relentless hashtags. It
Yes,
is
yes.
finally coming home.
I remain stunned that people gave enough of a crap to uh to push this into existence.
Yeah.
Um I think Justice League is pretty bad and like
I don't think you're alone in that.
generally accepted is not good. Now,
I don't think you're alone in
there's
that.
all
I think
kinds
the
of
general consensus was poor for
yet
it coming out.
yet there is a very strong and you would think large enough subsection of fans who desperately want this, maybe in hopes that it will be better.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Zack Snyder is kind of known for um, his director's cuts are usually seen as a better product than the theatrical versions.
Hmm.
So maybe that's why. I mean, I know that I mean I can attest that I think the his cut of the Watchmen is better than the theatrical version. Um, Honestly, I've only watched his cut of Batman v Superman once,
Hmm.
and I don't remember if I liked it better or not.
I have it, but I've actually never sat down and watched it.
That's yes,
I know his theatrical, his director's cut, I believe of 300 is a little bit better than the actual cut of 300. So look, we can say with all honesty whether or not we end up liking the, the Snyder cut of Justice League. Anytime you have a movie that had to be picked up by somebody else, it's almost universally not going to be as good.
yeah. I mean, I guess we should
Anytime
touch.
that the director switches mid production or something like that.
Yeah, I guess we should touch on the background of production just briefly for anyone who doesn't know. Um, Zack Snyder had to step down from the film during post production because of family emergency. He
Mm.
needed to step away and not finish the film. So Warner Brothers brought in Joss Whedon to complete the film. And while I don't think we know, I certainly don't know to what extent he remade it. I think we know that he did significant reshoots and rewrites.
According to this, hang on, I got it right here. According to producer Charles Roven, said that the theatrical cut of Justice League featured 80 to 85% of what Snyder shot, while the rest of everything else is Whedon shot during reshoots. However, they added that a lot of Snyder's plot lines were cut out because the final cut with Whedon stuff ended up being 2 hours versus Snyder had a cut that was supposed to be 3 hours or more. So
Yeah.
85% of his stuff made it in, or 80% of his stuff made it in, but or 80% of what made it in was his, but maybe only like 60% of what he actually shot or the stories that he shot or any of that stuff made it in. So there's stands to be it stands to be a maybe potentially very different film than what was
Uh
put in theaters.
yeah, I mean it certainly seems to be. Um in the Hollywood Reporter has a very um interesting article on their site that we can link in the show notes where he told the Hollywood Reporter Snyder did that it will be an entirely new thing, um, and especially talking to those who have seen the released movie, a new experience apart from that movie. He says you saw probably 1/4 of what I did, which is interesting because he later says that he's actually never watched the theatrical cut.
Okay. Well,
He said he's never seen it. I don't know, so I don't know what to think of that. I mean, in a way, that's hard to believe because how could he do this without seeing it? I don't know.
well, I mean, who knows how much of this has been? I mean, apparently he had a cut that was produced that was shown to Warner Brothers prior to its release, and they didn't really like it. But before he could really make his changes, he ended up taking that step away for his family emergency, and that's when they brought in Joss Whedon. Um, and so we'll see how this ends up on HBO Max. You said that there's some discrepancy on how exactly they might release it.
Yeah, so from what I've read, they're looking at the possibility of like a straight 4 hour director's cut, or something that would be cut up in 6 TV style chapters. Either one of those could be interesting.
Yeah, I
I'm
have a feeling the fans would prefer the long cut as opposed to 6. I don't think fans are going to want it chopped up. The people who've been wanting this
probably
Snyder cut all this time, they're not going to take a Justice League
yeah.
miniseries.
Turning a film into a miniseries is kind of, it just changes it in
Yeah.
a fundamental way. I think in the way it's present, in the way it's presented, and I don't know that people would want that either. But I mean, they said that they're bringing back the original post production crew to score, cut, and finish visual effects, and that they may even be um, reaching out to the actors to re-record lines. So that could
I
be
mean,
interesting.
they're definitely going to. I mean, if you want to put HBO Max on a platform apart from a lot of other things, this is kind of the way you do it. And they've been talking about a lot of the different programs they're going to be bringing to it, and a lot of different movies they're going to be bringing to it. Doing something like this, where you're really putting money into a project that a lot of fans have called out for. It's a good way to entice people to come to pick up your $20 a month streaming platform.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird to say this is a huge get for HBO Max because
Mhm.
it's their property.
Right.
But it is in a way something that is uniquely theirs.
Right.
And Snyder mentioned that too in an interview, that this is not the type of thing that would probably ever have been released in the theater. But with streaming, it's a lot easier to be able to pump out something like this.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say something that's probably more on the controversial side now. Uh, the whole Justice League thing, I don't think we've ever really been able to discuss. We here at So Many Sequels have yet to do the Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, the
Yeah.
Justice League, that whole wing of stuff. We've just, it's not come up on the wheel yet.
No. Well,
And
and there's yet to be a true sequel to any of those.
that's true. That's true. There's
Not until Wonder
is
Woman
Dawn
2
of
finally comes
Justice
out.
a sequel of Superman, or is it kind of like a whole new thing?
Right.
So it's I personally think that I don't think Zack Snyder was ever the right guy for DC's films.
Probably not.
It real and when the fact that they went and they got Joss Whedon to come in and fill in, I think just continues to speak to either Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment or whoever is in charge of this stuff. It speaks to their lack of real thinking, because
Yeah.
Warner Brothers has just been of the opinion that Zack Snyder is their comic book guy. The second Chris Nolan turned them down to do anything else, they were like, well, let's just get Zack Snyder. He did Watchmen. He did 300. He did, what was the other comic book movie he did for them? And like, just get that guy. He does our comic book stuff, to have him come do it. And they stuck with him. And then the second he pulled out, they're like, who's the other comic book guy? Oh, the guy who directed Avengers. Get him in here right now. Like, they didn't even think like, hey, let's ask Zach who he thinks would complement his product, who could actually finish with his type of vision. Like, I would think that would be important, is like, ask the director, hey, if if you can't complete this, do you have any suggestions for who we might ask to go with? Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder couldn't be more different in terms of their tonal and how they do movies. So like,
Right.
I don't think it was ever gonna work. It echoes the whole thing with Richard Donner and the Superman franchise, where they said, no, you're out, and they brought in somebody who just doesn't match the tone and does something for the most part different with it. And then luckily they didn't try to keep pursuing this after with Joss Whedon directing like a Justice League 2 or something like that. Ugh, I don't know. But hopefully people get what they want out of this. I don't foresee a lot of people are asking this kind of question. I've seen on Reddit threads and stuff. I don't think this is going to lead to more of this particular version of the DC movies. I think they're going to continue forward with Robert Pattinson as Batman.
Yeah.
At the very least, maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll bring Ben Affleck to do other stuff, but I kind of doubt it. It just seems unlikely.
I think the biggest question that has kind of plagued the DCEU in recent releases, and maybe will be reignited by this, is what is going to happen to Henry Cavill's Superman?
Yeah.
Because I think that I've seen that he's expressed interest in continuing to do it. There was a weird thing a while back. I feel like he posted something on social media that was like cryptic. Do you remember this at all?
I don't really.
Well, I could be making it up, or maybe I dreamed it. Anyway, we don't really know what's going to happen to that because, I mean, he was fairly successful as Superman, I think.
I think he was a fine casting job, but we never really got to see, I think, what all he can really do.
Right.
He's shown a ton of charisma in everything else he's done.
And he's the one we've seen the most right now, with appearances in 3 movies, but he only got the one to himself. I think I would like to see him in another movie made by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not in like, I don't want Man of Steel 2 to be made. I kind of just want another Superman movie.
Yeah, they just keep Henry Cavill though.
Yeah, we don't need another origin, that's for sure.
Not really.
But if we just kind of like give us another Superman story in the same vein that Marvel did Spider-Man Homecoming without making it a origin story so much.
Yeah, so, like, people know how Superman works.
Right.
We got it. You know,
if we
it's the same.
Get that.
People talk about wanting Uncle Ben in those Spider-Man movies, and it's just kind of like, we know, and we know how Batman becomes Batman. We know his parents die. We don't need to see Bruce Wayne's parents get killed in every Batman property, but yet we do.
Yeah.
Like every property that they release, whether it's a video game, a new comic book, whatever, we're always getting teases of that infamous night. And it's like, do we need it every time? Is it anybody's first time hearing about Batman?
Yeah. I'm certainly interested to see what he can do with a new director's cut. I have my reservations about how much room for improvement actually exists there.
Yeah, because it's still going to be a Zack Snyder movie.
Because exactly, while they may be exploring, while they may be exploring re-recording lines or recording new lines, I didn't see anything about reshoots. And in the climate that we're in right now, I don't think that's feasible anyway to do reshoots on a 3-year-old movie in the midst of a pandemic with major stars. So it's going to have to literally come down to what footage exists.
Yeah.
And what could be done with CGI.
Yeah. And
is this the one? This is the movie where they had to like airbrush out Cavill's mustache, right?
It is. So
are they gonna have to do that again?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's been plenty of deep fakes online that have done better versions of it that we've seen. So hopefully, the amount of time since this movie was released has given them time to do an improved job. You know, it's hard to hate on VFX artists when they're like, hey, do something that's not honestly that easy, and like you have like X amount of time to do it. So hopefully they've had time to get it figured out. Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, I will be interested to watch it. I'm not excited about sitting down for a nearly 4-hour movie, but for the sake of pacifying the hashtag Snyder Cut crowd, I will give it its due diligence.
Yep, I feel the same. I don't have a lot of excitement for it, but I will watch it. I may even go back and watch the theatrical cut of Justice League just to refresh my memory. I'm also not excited to do that. But I'll give it a shot. It's a huge exclusive for HBO Max, which already, I don't know if you've seen, there's been some reports this week about, or with a list of a lot of the classic titles that they're adding.
Mhm.
It's a ton. It's going to
Oh yeah.
be a huge service. And I think I don't want to get down like a whole rabbit hole of HBO Max, but I think there might be some confusion amongst people who, when they hear the name, they think it's going to be HBO or just HBO, when it's really a Warner Brothers media service or
Pretty
streaming
much.
service.
Yeah.
We're talking the entire, well, I say entire, a huge portion of the Warner Brothers film catalog, which is, you know, one of the oldest studios in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's pretty immense. There's going to be a lot of classic films on there. Good chance the Harry Potters are all going to be on there,
Yeah, I
I
think they
think.
are.
So
I think they're going to fold
all
the
the DC
DC universe
properties.
into it.
Yeah. I mean, DC
So
Universe was a cool idea, but it seems more likely to pick up if they just fold that into HBO Max.
it makes more sense to do that. So that launches next week, I think.
Yeah.
HBO Max does. So
Yeah.
gonna be interested to do that. We may need to do, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit when it
Yeah.
happens, once we
Yeah.
get to
We'll get
explore
a
it.
shared so many sequels
Yeah.
again.
Don't listen to that, Warner Brothers. Okay, so let's move on from the Snyder cut. Talk
Yes,
about
sir.
just other stories real quick. Variety reported this week that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is considering postponing the 93rd Oscars that are it's currently set to air February 28th, 2021.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's very likely that it'll be
Yeah, they say
postponed.
very likely.
Yeah, they use the phrase very likely. However, details are still kind of out there on this. A lot of it's due to the fact that there's going to be some rule changes with how they are accepting Oscar films this next year, and the rules are already pretty strict as they are. Um, but it's also a case of films aren't being produced to the level that they have been in the past. And when you talk about films that are usually Oscar films, they're usually films on a smaller budget. They're usually films that the studio isn't necessarily. I mean, a lot of studios want to get those movies out, but they're more focused on those big blockbusters that are going to make a lot of money. So like films that are even going to be considered for Oscars may not even be able to finish production in time to be considered for the Oscar window.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the interesting part to me is it comes down to what is the real like driving reason behind this?
Yeah.
Is it because of production issues, which makes sense, or is it because of um, other pandemic issues in not being able to like host a huge celebration like this? I feel like at this point in May 2020, it's really early to have conversations like that. That's nearly a year away.
Yeah.
And when it comes into postponement, what are they going to do? Are we talking like a month, 2 months? Are they going to skip 2021 entirely? Because then there
Yeah.
might be an overload of films. Because if you only skip 1 or 2 months, how much time is that really buying a production that takes time?
Yeah.
Like it takes longer than a month or two to make a movie in a lot of cases,
Yeah.
especially the big ones.
I think ideally it'd be a really interesting, like it's an opportunity really to explore a different way of producing the Oscar show. Like
Yeah.
we've seen SNL and we've seen a lot of TV shows try out new ways of recording their product. The Oscars has been dipping in popularity in terms of ratings for a while. The access to social media to find out the results quick, right after
Is
they happen anyway,
instantaneous. Yeah.
is really appealing for most people. Maybe this is an opportunity for the Oscars to say, hey, what if we just, it's not going to be as glitzy and glamoury, but we're going to not worry about having a crowd full of celebrities. We're not going to worry about having all these people all packed in to this big soundstage. We'll set up a nice small scale venue with, a handful of, presenters or people. We'll roll all our same production and editing, all those great video packages that they make for the show, do all of that stuff. And people can accept remotely, which they've already done for years, had people accept videos via, previous recorded segments or things like that, and just do the show on a small scale. Like, and I honestly think that you put that up on the internet, you put it up on TV, you put it up wherever it goes, I bet it gets more viewership than the average Oscars over the last few years.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I think that when you focus so much on TV numbers anyway, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah,
TV numbers go down every year, almost across the board, with very few exceptions.
pretty much everything.
For pretty much everything. So, yeah, redoing the entire process is probably a good idea. I mean, it would suck to have to postpone the Oscars. It's always a fun night for our show.
Mm-hmm.
We do a whole episode about it. Sometimes 2 episodes. I can't remember.
Yeah, you can go listen to our episode from this year.
Yeah,
pretty good.
But then, at the same time, without knowing what the fall is going to look like, when it seems like a lot of these Oscar contenders are released, who knows what could even be nominated?
That's right.
I know that there's. Last I heard, the next 2 big movies that are supposed to come out are Tenet and Mulan.
Yeah.
And the only one I've heard comment on is that Disney has been very adamant that Mulan will hit theaters July 24th.
Yeah, they want that to happen, and so that could be your first real opportunity to go back to the theaters.
Right. And if theaters are reopening by then, there's like a cyclical nature to this where theaters don't want to open until studios have product, and studios don't want to have product until movie theaters are open.
Right. It's
so if
go first,
if a company like Disney with Mulan or Warner Brothers with Tenet kind of force some of these chains to reopen, there's going to be demand for studio product, and they're just going to have to start making movies again. And I'm not commenting on whether that's the right or wrong call to make. That's just what I think will happen.
And then the real question becomes: is the public comfortable with going back, ready to go back?
And that, I think, is going to be our last topic for this show. There's a Deadline story out just a few days ago, I believe. Last week, about a survey that found that the majority of moviegoers will return to cinemas if COVID-19 safety guidelines are in place. Just scanning through this real quick. An EDO moviegoer survey found that 75% of respondents said they would return to cinemas upon their reopening when Tenet, Mulan, and Russell Crowe's Unhinged.
I saw this trailer just the other day.
They would return when those movies hit if the theaters implement safety guidelines.
They have a little graph here on Deadline.
Yep. Somewhat likely and highly likely to return are far and away the winners. You add those together, I assume that's where they get the 75% number. It looks like a very small percentage said it was unlikely.
Yeah.
Said that they were unlikely to return.
Yeah, but even if you include unsure in that, which is the third highest,
right?
The majority of people are at least willing to consider it. So, and a lot of theaters are talking about different safety protocols they might go through. They might have these more hand sanitizers, maybe seat distancing. They might not sell at capacity. They might encourage face masks. They might even put up little safety guards between the chairs.
Yeah, in the survey, 91% of respondents said that theaters should have hand sanitizer stations. 86% wanted to limit show times so that crews would have more time to clean between screenings. And then, some of the more standard that we see in other places like face masks, temperature checks, etc. So I think that should be encouraging.
That it should be
to the theater industry.
We posed this question on our Facebook to people, our fans and people who follow us, and I would say the results were somewhat negative to the idea of going back to the theater.
They were, but they really weren't negative because of the pandemic.
No, not really.
Was interesting to me. They were perfectly legitimate reasons to not want to go back to the theater. There was talk about poor experiences with audio and video quality. That definitely
Right.
happens sometimes.
Yep.
Some just personal anxiety issues that can come with going to the theater for various reasons. So
Yeah.
those are
And then
all
just a feeling that the theater experience as a whole is sort of an overpriced
is yeah.
component of movie going, and that's not necessarily untrue.
No, it's not. There's definitely no argument from me that it can be overpriced.
And that's why some places like AMC have a program
Mhm.
where they're trying to find ways to eliminate that idea of like of being overpriced by offering, hey, go see X amount of however many movies you want for just a upfront fee.
Exactly. I mean,
So
there are options out there. You know, I'm a AMC A-list customer, and it's like $23 a month, and you can see 3 movies a week that way.
mhm.
And you look at it from that perspective, and it's very cheap. But yeah, if but I'm also one person taking advantage of this program. If you're a family of, you know, 3, 4 people,
Yeah, it,
that
it
adds up, and you can only use,
does.
what are you gonna have, a subscription for everyone? Probably
Yeah, we
not.
did. I read. I think I talked about a study last June about how they did a study in 2018 something like 80% or 90% of moviegoers only see 10 movies a year in theaters,
I believe
and
that.
so and then from there most people see less. It's a very small fraction of people that see more than that, and so the theater business may come out the other side of this pandemic in a completely new form. There's conversation about Amazon buying AMC. There's conversation about Netflix buying their own theater chains, things like that. We could one of the big things to change about after this pandemic could not just be how we do our everyday lives, but the film industry may be completely different.
Yep. Yep.
But that's about it for today.
Yeah, I think that covers up this nice little midweek roundup of news.
Yep.
We will. We might need to make this a at least somewhat regular thing. I think
Oh yeah. We come up with a name for it. Get little
we got to get a
weird
name for it.
weird branding
Graphics.
on it. So many
Yep.
updates. Something like
Mm,
that. Mm,
hmm
yeah.
I like that. Okay.
TM.
Well, a registered trademark. Yep, that wraps it up for this thing, whatever it is.
Yep.
We'll figure it out. Find us online at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search So Many Sequels. You've probably already found us on YouTube if you're
Yep.
watching this, but if you did, subscribe.
Yeah.
We
Check
would
out our
love
latest reviews.
to have your subscription. Yeah, we as of this posting, we're about to wrap up The Matrix. We've got the Animatrix coming out soon, and then we'll be announcing our next series after that. And we've got a ton of old stuff in the old catalog of our podcast archives, which
That's right.
you can find in whatever your favorite podcasting app is.
Over 100 episodes, I believe now.
I haven't counted in a while.
Pretty sure that's right. I'm pretty
I'm sure it's
sure.
right.
I think Return of the King was our 99th episode or something. So
We're like a few months into season 3, so we gotta be at 100 by this point.
right.
Um,
So until next time.
yeah, I think that's everything. So until next time, I don't know.